Nicky and Ryan on Stirling Community Radio.
Hi, this is Ryan RocKs. I'm here with co-host Nicky and Mike Christie, a singer and composer, and most might know him from G4, who was on X Factor. That's cool. I'd like to go and hide how many years ago that was, but since this is the 20th anniversary tour, that ship has kind of sailed, and that secret's not a secret anymore. So thanks for being here, Mike. Thank you.
Hello. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
No, this is fantastic. I have been prepping for this with Nicky, and Nicky's got some great questions. So
all day.
Okay, now I'm scared.
So I thought I'm just going to let her loose and get down to the nitty gritty. And
wow. Okay, please do.
Yeah.
Yes.
So good luck, Mike.
Fire away. I'm ready. I'm ready and waiting.
All right, go for
Ryan,
it.
you're not going to ask your amazing question first about it.
What was my amazing question?
Was that a joke?
Which one?
Your amazing question about like the elephant in the room.
Oh,
was
that's
that like
later
literally
on.
a
That's
joke?
later. You're ruining it.
Oh, it's later.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I love
Sorry.
elephants.
We'll talk about the elephant later.
Oh, yeah. They have to face the window anyway. Right. So, Mike, X Factor 2014. So you must have been like, what, 12 at the time?
Oh, yeah, 11 or 12. Yeah, something like that. I wish. Actually, no, I don't wish. I don't think I would have coped it when I was 11 or 12. Actually, when I was 11 or 12, I was in a movie for Weddings and a Funeral because I was a chorister. And I got to be in all of the weddings in the choirs, and that was amazing. I got to meet Mr. Bean, as I knew him, Rowan Atkinson, and he was so good with us, so patient with us, little schoolboys, with autographs and photos, and just so patient. So I was doing that when I was 11 or 12.
Didn't you nearly get kicked out for laughing?
Yes, so that particular one was where Rowan Atkinson was the priest at the wedding, and he had a line that was Father, Son, and Holy Goat. And obviously, as an 11-year-old, that was probably the funniest thing I'd ever heard. Indeed, in fact, all my cohort as well. And we all just kept laughing. And the director had to do a number of takes and said, right, if you laugh in this take, you're out. And we were terrified. And we sat there and held our noses and shook up and down, you know, as you do when you're trying to hide a laugh. And we got through it and we didn't get sent out, thankfully. But yeah, Rowan Atkinson was just too funny.
Right. So 20th anniversary tour, 72 dates. I mean, are you insane?
Yes, definitely. I think you have to be insane to do a job like I do. No, it's incredible to think it was 20 years ago, but I mean, we just love what we do. We have so much fun and we live for going out there on stage and performing live. It's the biggest tour we've ever done, by far. And that's the crazy thing. That's just the theatre tour during the year. We then go on a Christmas tour, which is in cathedrals, and that is another 37 dates. So we've got over 100 tour dates this year. But you know what? I'm certainly not complaining, particularly after COVID, when we literally lost anyone in the entertainment industry. Lost sort of a year and a half of work. So it's amazing to be out there, and people seem to still love what we do all these years later. And it's just an absolute privilege, really, to be able to go out there on stage and to sing for people.
Well, I'd say like there's quite a few bands that I see that are better on the CD, and you're not one of them. You are absolutely like better live. And talking about that, a vinyl, cassette, and CD streaming on all major platforms now. The album is also called 20, so I thought I'd get that in there for you.
Yeah, no, thank you. No, it's amazing. This is the first time we've done more than just a CD. Also got the LP and the cassette, and it's quite retro. And I've still got a cassette player at home, which I'm glad I've kept onto because I'm looking forward to playing that when I get my copy of it. But it's been received so well. People are loving the album. And the thing is, fundamentally, you know, we are singers. That's why people like us. And the singing live element, when so many don't, so many mime in this world, it's vital to us, and we love doing that. And you know, it's the reason. You know, obviously, you can listen to a CD over and over again and get so much joy from it, but the thing with live for both the performer and the audience is something could go wrong at any point, or someone heckles, or something happens, someone sneezes at an inopportune moment. You know, there's often a choir moment sometime when someone will suddenly sneeze and it just sets everyone off laughing. But we really go on an emotional journey on our live show, and we have everything from real serious tear jerkers with all the tissues come out, and the next thing we are just completely silly, taking the mick out of each other. And that contrast, not only do we love, but it's quite unique out there, actually, as we find when people come to our shows. They say there isn't really anything else out there like us. And I guess that's why we've managed to stay going, 20 years on.
Yeah, definitely. Can I just clarify, you're looking forward to winding your tape with the pencil when it gets caught in the mechanism?
That is very
well, obviously,
specific.
I'm far too young to remember that. But yes, also looking forward to getting the LP, because I do have an LP player in the loft, and I've been meaning to for so long to get it down. I inherited some LPs from my parents, and they were huge music lovers, and that's really what got me into music. They would always play the LPs for so many different genres, different styles, different artists, anything from opera to jazz to rock and roll. And so I've got all of those to play, but I think the first one will have to be G420, surely.
Yeah, because it's pink, if for no other reason. I mean, I really like the fact that it's pink. Right, you've just touched on it there, but what is with that image of the album cover is very different from any of you. Normally G4 are just there in a little 4 in a little row, and there's some gold, or this one's got graffiti and paint splatters all over it.
Yeah, so for listeners, the album, essentially, it's the 4 of us sitting in a row, and our faces have been defaced. And there are so many different reasons as to why we've done it, really. I mean, firstly, we've used quite a lot of street art, graffiti, essentially, but more on the artistic side rather than sort of, destroying things, because we all met and formed in London, and we used to busk on the streets of London. So it's got that real kind of grounding street edge to it, which is great. Also, our lineup has changed slightly over the years. We've just had a new member join who is Scottish. It's the first time we've got a Scot in the group, which is very exciting. Although I hasten to add, I am actually originally Scottish. My surname is Christie, and I've traced it in my family tree. And then we've got another guy in the band, Duncan Sandilands. Sandilands is also a Scottish name. So there is already plenty of Scottish blood in the band. But Jai McDowell, who won Britain's Got Talent about 10 or so years ago, for Scotland, definitely, he is incredibly Scottish, way more Scottish than we are even. And so it's great to have him on board. Yeah, we used to busk on the streets of London. We've changed lineup as well, so it's a sort of a play on that. And also, I think for us, we are never what people expect, or people don't know quite what to expect of us. And so it also played on that, really. And thinking about it, what we've done on the CD is you can actually flip the booklet round where we're then not defaced. So you have the option. And I think people like the idea that it's slightly rebellious. Because going back to the X Factor, we were 4 guys in suits. We were classical opera singers, which for a lot of people thought, oh, they must be boring. They must be a bit dull. And so it is a little bit unexpected. And so it also sort of plays to that as well. I mean, there are other interpretations, but they're certainly 3 of the main reasons.
Okay. Talking about Jai as well, his concert in Air is completely sold out.
Yes. Yeah, so he is from Air, and we've always loved playing that, the town hall there. It's a fantastic venue, and people are going to go wild. And we've got a whole little section in there, which for the Scottish audience, they are really going to appreciate. But I can't give any spoilers. You have to come and watch to find out. The crowd are going to go wild at that point. It's really fun.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you a bit more about the songs on the album. Like, did you choose them collectively as a group, or were they individually? And can I just say that I think Creep with Vampire is inspired. I mean, the second I heard Vampire, I heard like Creep in it. Like I could hear that, and I thought that would make a great mashup. And then you did it so brilliantly, and that is absolutely my favorite song on the album.
It's my favorite too.
Probably my favorite G4 song.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brian. Yeah, it's yours too.
It's my favorite too. Yeah, I was listening to the album today, and what I like is there's a mix of kind of the operatic side, but obviously like the pop side as well. And there's something for everyone on that album. So, but Creep for me, because I'm a rock show host, so my background is rock music, and I really had an affinity for that particular song.
Yeah, no, that's great, and that's the key thing with us. We are a whole host of different genres, and we cover songs. But when we cover songs, it's we never want to be just seen as a karaoke version. but we really are putting our own stamp on it and adding the harmonies, hyping up the drama, but doing something that's so different that actually to the listener it sounds like it's an original song. But we've got everything from contemporary art. So we've got a Billie Eilish song on there. We've got Olivia Rodrigo with Vampire, which was obviously one of the biggest songs last year. But as soon as I heard that, I thought it's the same chords as Creep, and that could actually work quite interestingly. And then we tried to work out, it didn't quite work out. And then Duncan had an idea and said, oh, I think we could try this. And then we did that. And it all just sort of came together really nicely. And it's really quite haunting, but also very dramatic. And we're hoping we could do some sort of quirky music video for Halloween later this year. That would be really cool with that one. But as you say, yeah, we've got a bit of opera on there. We've also got some barbershop. So actually, we were a barbershop quartet when we formed. We studied at music college at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama, and that's the G in our name. There are 4 of us. It's a lot easier to spell rather than the Guildhall School of Music and Drama Barbershop Quartet. It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? And so that was literally Goodnight Sweetheart, which is on the album. That was the first song we ever sung, but we never got to record it. And so that felt super nostalgic to add that one to the mix. And then we've got a bit of Dusty Springfield on there. It really is an eclectic mix. And again, it just plays on our sort of uniqueness, really. And funnily enough, I was looking at the set list the other day and just comparing all the different things on the live tour, because obviously it's got the new album tracks, but it's also got ones from back in the day, Bohemian Rhapsody, which sort of launched our career, and My Way, Circle of Life. And it really is, I sort of thought, yeah, you know what, actually that is a really eclectic mix that is sort of totally unique.
Yeah. I think as well, like you touched on it there as well, but it is like the very West End kind of theatrical Vampire and Creep. I felt like it was really theatrical. And I was actually cleaning my rabbit out the other day, tangent, and I was singing Monsters at the top of my voice. I absolutely love that song as well. And like I had my headphones on, right? I'm cleaning. I look up and there's this pair of legs there. Absolutely, like I'm in the rabbit's cage, so I absolutely like screamed. And Logan's like, I was singing that song. Why do you know that song? I'm like, it's G4. And he's like, what? No.
Yeah.
My son has been to G4 concerts and he was just like, they don't sing songs like that. And I'm like, well, they do on this album. So appealing to a different audience there because he's 18.
No, that's great. And that's what's been so nice, actually, because obviously we've got fans that have been with us since the X Factor. They voted for us. They're still saying, oh, I need to send my invoice to you for all the money I spent on the phone calls back then. But then we're always picking up new audience. And some people say, I'm so sorry, but I've never heard of you. And it's like, it's fine, you know, they didn't watch the X Factor. And discovering it. And we're finding more and more multi-generations are coming. So 3 generations, even 4 generations coming along. And we get people that say, you know, that are 16, for example, and they say, I wasn't actually born when you were on the X Factor, but my mum used to come to your shows when she was pregnant with me. And that's amazing. And then she comes with her mum or whatever. And it's amazing to see such a variety of people coming along. And it's almost like there's an excitement of people that have been there since the beginning, but also as much excitement with people that just go, you know what, I've literally just discovered it. I don't know how I didn't know about it before. And my favorite one is what I call the dragged along husband. So where the woman has followed us for many years and harped on about us, and the husband just thinks, oh, it's not my sort of thing. I'm not interested. Don't take me. And eventually, for whatever reason on this tour or even last year's tour, the husband has been dragged along and he's gone, oh, you know, I'll see what I can do. And you meet them in the meet and greet beforehand, you see, and the husband's a bit like, oh, I'm not really sure why I'm here. Anyway, by the end of the show, the husband is just totally inverted and becomes more of a fan than the wife. And so angry at the wife, why didn't you drag me along sooner? It's like, well, you know, she tried. But so that's what's really nice, actually, to see how people respond to that. And it's just I can
absolutely confirm that. That's true. That happened in Dundee. Like, guy sitting next to me was really grumpy at the beginning of the concert and on his feet and like clapping at the
Yeah, and it's really nice to see that, I think. But that's the thing, isn't it, with classical music and opera, because obviously the word opera immediately turns off a lot of people. They just go, oh, I don't like opera, I don't do that. But if you think about a lot of movies and you go to the soundtracks are often classical, and there may well be some opera arias in the soundtrack, and people will be absolutely bawling their eyes out in the cinema watching it, but just not aware that actually it is opera and it is classical music. And over the years, so many people have said, oh, I don't like opera, I don't like classical music. And I think you actually do, but you don't realize that you like it because, you know, and and we obviously break down the barriers and the boundaries with it, with our crossover style, and by doing contemporary pop songs and different things. So I think that obviously all helps. But I think a lot of people are sort of like, oh, I don't know whether I'd like it. I'm not really sure what to expect. And when they come, they get the bug. And I remember, forget, Rebecca, who's a fan of ours, who posted on Facebook the other day, and she said it's a year anniversary since I decided to meet up with another fan, who they were great friends back in the day and used to come to stuff. And she, for whatever reason, decided, she was like, I've moved on, I've grown up, it's not my thing anymore. Anyway, she was convinced to come to a show this time last year, and she said within 10 seconds or something of them opening their mouths, I realised why I love them so much, and I realised, my goodness me, my bank balance is really going to suffer, because she's come to multiple shows on the tour now, and she just says, I can't believe how much joy it's given me, and I just can't live without it now. So it's interesting that people sort of resist because perhaps they're not really sure if it's their thing, and it's wonderful to see. And we used to get it when we were busking. We'd be singing Nessun Dorma or something, and you could see people walking past going, "Oh, opera, don't really like that." But then their body would just sort of stop itself. They couldn't control it, and they just thought, "Actually, I'm quite enjoying this." And it was wonderful. I remember we used to get these mums that would come with their little kids, and they would sit them down in front of us in a little row in the front. And they said, I cannot take my child to anything. Like, they get so bored. I've taken them to kids shows. But they would come every Saturday when we busked, late morning on a Saturday, and would just sit the kids. And I said, it's the only thing I can get them to do where they'll actually just shut up, and they just absolutely love it. And that was before we were on the X Factor. So, and people used to say, you've got something really special going on. You're going to be famous one day. And we're like, yeah, whatever. We're students. We're just having fun. And it was amazing to just see from that early stage how people sort of thought, I don't like this sort of music. Oh, actually, I do. I'm enjoying it now.
So, talking about fans, right? So the Christie Chicks and Chaps, Ryan, is Mike's fan site on Facebook. And I mean, some of the comments on there sometimes are slightly humorous. I mean, they mean to be humorous. I'm not like taking the mickey out of anybody. But I don't know if you've seen this yet, Mike, because obviously you are uber busy. But one of your fans posted a comment that was originally on OK Magazine, and you probably don't watch it either because I know how busy you are. But Britain's Got Talent on Saturday night, somebody was dressed as Batman and sang Defying Gravity and then got lifted into the air. I mean, I don't know why, because Batman doesn't fly, but anyway, regardless. So this guy's dangling in the air. So somebody on the OK thing commented, I think that's the tall one from G4. So somebody then screenshot that, put it in the Christie Chicks. And the best quote on there is Marilyn, who says, it's definitely not Mike, just look at the teeth. Mike's are much better.
I've totally missed that. I'll go and have a look after this interview. Wow.
I know, they thought you were on The Voice as well, didn't they, at one point? Like, it's not The Voice.
Well, yes.
What's the one
Yes.
with where they wear costumes?
Oh, The Masked Singer.
Yeah, they thought you were on
Yeah.
Masked Singer at one point as well, didn't they?
No,
You
that
should
was funny.
Totally do that. You should do the Masked Singer.
And also, I've been mistaken for a certain tennis player as well. People have thought I've been in the semi-final at Wimbledon a few times as Tim Henman.
What, Andy Murray?
But yeah. No, as Tim Henman many years ago now. But that's interesting. It's always very flattering if someone feels that's you. And every so often I get a message saying, "Are you in Luton today?" And I'm like, "No, why?" I said, "Well, I think I've just walked past you." And I think, "No, you haven't just walked past me because I'm not anywhere near Luton." But so I've obviously got some doppelgangers about.
Sounds like it.
Right, I've got some quick fire questions, so you just got to give me the answers on the beat here, and then Ryan can have a go at you. Oh, that sounds so wrong. So sorry. I didn't mean to say like that. Right, okay. So is the meaning of life really 42?
No.
Okay. What is a zig R?
It is something that the Spice Girls really want.
It's not really, like, you're not really going fast enough here, but
They
what is
really,
your
really, really want it.
What is your favourite word of the day today? Because I know it changes.
Globule.
Nice. Nice. Okay. Who in G4 has the smelliest socks?
John.
Back to the Future, 1, 2, or 3? You're going to say
All
you haven't
three.
seen it.
I
Yeah.
recently watched them with my kids. Oh my goodness, we all absolutely loved them. I hadn't seen them for so many
Recently,
years.
Ryan, recently. Anyway, I'm dying. Does Jai feel like he's always been in the band? Do you feel like he's always been there?
Yes, in many ways he does. Yes.
Okay. What's your go-to emoji?
Thumbs up.
What's your favourite thing about Scotland?
Oh, it's the wee haggis, I think, probably. Or the tunnocks. I love the tunnocks. The tablet as well. There's quite a few things actually in Scotland I really like, and the accent as well. I just wish I had an interesting accent. I don't. Mine's just very plain English. So I do love the accent. But I have to say the audiences are always so brilliant. They're always so up for it and always so up for a laugh. And that's why I can't wait. This little Scottish section we've got in the show, I cannot wait because we haven't done a Scottish date yet. We've got them coming up very soon.
Is that every Scottish date? Not just Jai, it's every Scottish date you're doing that?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a little Scottish moment, and I cannot wait to see the audience's reaction to that.
Okay. What has been your favourite concert moment to date? That's going to be hard over 20 years, isn't it?
Concert moment, I think it was the first time we performed at the Royal Albert Hall. We were absolutely blown away, and you walk in and there's a painted wall that has all of the artists from yesteryear that have performed there, and you look at that and go, wow, we're now part of that. And within 3 years, the first 3 years of our career, we performed there about 12 times. I mean, that was mind-blowing.
Yeah. Okay. And final question from me. Ryan will be pleased to know because he looks like he's fallen asleep there. Where do you
There's
see
no
G4?
snoring, so I think you're all right.
I'm okay.
Where do you see G4 in 20 years from now?
Well, that's an interesting point because if you'd have asked me 20 years ago, I would have said, well, we obviously won't be together in 20 years' time. And here we are, and bigger and better than ever, more tour dates than ever, a new CD. It feels like it's the start of a new chapter. So I cannot see why. I mean, obviously, I would be just in my 60s in 20 years' time.
No.
And you look at the rock and roll stars, think, well, actually, we probably still will be going. I mean, as long as people keep buying tickets and albums, we'll keep going. But I love the idea that we're just going to carry on as long as we can, really.
And why
That's
not?
young compared to Mick Jagger and Cliff Richards.
Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah,
If
why
he
not?
can keep going, you can keep going.
Yeah, if Ozzy Osbourne can keep alive, they can keep going.
You should do an
Okay,
Aussie
take
cover.
it away,
though.
Ryan.
So yeah, apart from I have a list of rock covers I want you to do, but I'll send that separately.
I'd love to hear that.
There'd be I've got it now. So Nikki said that you were teaching her to sing. Was that a tough job, or she said you were like her singing teacher?
Yeah, so in the COVID times when all live shows all went and everything, and I started teaching again and did online lessons for people, and I love doing it because singing is just such a wonderful therapy for people, and it just gets the endorphins rolling. I just think it's such a wonderful thing. Obviously, I'm totally biased, but it's great. And she was very fun to teach. She was very studious. She would always do her practice, because that's the thing, between lessons, you've always got to practice. She would learn her songs, learn the lyrics, and it feels like ages ago now, but yes, it was. She was a very good student.
Yeah,
That's when I actually sang.
That's when you actually sang. Yeah.
Well, some lessons we just laughed.
Oh.
I mean, like he tried to get me to do "Is Bill Still Ill?" and I don't know why, but for some reason that day that actually I could not. He was crying. I was crying. We were both.
But Ryan,
There's
we've got
no
a lovely
scene.
surprise for you today, because Nikki is going to sing
Right now.
Nicky is
on
not.
air for you now.
We need to arrange that. but
Hit it. Go on, Nikki.
Ryan's the singer here.
No, I'm clearly not the singer here. Mike's the singer here.
We can all
Oops.
be singers.
Yeah, I meant out of me and you.
Oh,
not-
right. Okay. My biggest song that I did was called Baked Beans and Cheese. I'm still trying to sell it to Heinz, but it's not happening.
Wow.
You actually did a reel the other day, didn't you? I saw that reel.
I did.
They've
a
actually
reel.
started
Do you want to
selling
hear
baked
it?
beans
I've
with
actually got
cheese
it
in
here.
Stirling.
Like, I don't know why I'm playing my songs when it's your interview, but no. So you're in Scotland for, well, there's 4 dates, obviously: Ayr, Edinburgh, Glenrothes, and Stirling. And
7 dates.
well, the 4 dates.
Yeah, because we've got some.
There's 4 now.
Yeah,
there's
We've got
3.
some in May. Those ones are in May, and then
Yeah.
we've got some extra Scottish dates in September as well.
Yes. So what?
You do.
How do you pick where you're going to be? Where do you have an affinity to certain places, or do you just what's available? How does that work? How does your booking work?
Yeah, well, it's a few different things, really. Initially, when you start a tour, all of the venues are contacted of the sort of the capacity that you want to perform at, and you see what response you get, and essentially it's their availability, because it all needs to be routed, because we're not going to do Stirling and then the next night we're going to be in Penzance.
Yeah.
So it's quite a difficult job to sort of route it all and make it make sense geographically. And we just had such an incredible response from venues that we ended up booking more. I mean, I'm sure we were going to start with a 40-date tour, which is quite enough, to be fair. And it's like, oh, let's do 50, let's do 60, let's do 70. Okay, I think we need to start capping it off. Oh, there's a few more venues that, okay, fine. 73 or 74, let's stop there, because actually otherwise there's no break before the Christmas tour. I mean, yeah. So, yes, it all just sort of, it was amazing to get that sort of response from venues. So, and a lot of them we have performed at before, but then we've also done some new ones, and particularly some more Scottish dates, because we've got Jai on board now. So we're travelling more into the depths of Scotland, which is always good. We normally do 2 or 3 dates, and we've got 7. So that's really exciting.
So the other 3...
You're wrong, but aren't you going from... Sorry, Ryan, aren't you going from Yeovil to Ayr?
Yes, but it's not the following day. Okay. There's 2 days off in between.
So the other 3 days...
So we tend to do 5 shows in a row, and then we have 2 days off. So that's a little gap. Yeah, we do Yeovil on the Saturday, I think, and then we're in Ayr on the Tuesday.
And the September dates, that's Dundee, Aberdeen and Elgin. So there you go. Just in
case...
That's
correct, yes.
The other people want to go to the other ones. But are you going to Stirling, Nicky? Is that where you're going to be?
Hopefully you're going to all of the Scottish dates, aren't you, Nicky?
No, a bit busy at the moment.
No pressure. So what's the difference between, obviously, the Christmas cathedral thing? Has that got a different ethereal sound to it? Is it completely different? Do you feel like that's a different tour? Obviously, it's a different tour, but do you feel like it's a completely different thing altogether, or do you attach it along with the G420 stuff?
No, it does feel very, very different. So the Christmas tour tends to be in cathedrals. And with that one, it's just 4 voices and live piano. So it's stripped right back. Whereas on the theatre tour, we have a big orchestral sound, big lights, production, all of that stuff. And of course, on the cathedral tour, we're really using the acoustics of the building.
Yeah.
So it has a very different feel. And we have people who love both shows and some people that love one particular. But the Christmas tour now, we've been doing for so many years in a row that it's become part of people's Christmas, in the way that people have to go to Panto before Christmas itself.
Oh, no,
it's like they say, I cannot start my Christmas until I've been to the G4 Christmas show, which is really lovely. It's really touching, and it's just a really special thing to do it, because I love singing Christmas songs. I could actually sing them all year round, but obviously I don't, because that would be a bit weird.
That would be.
So this is outside Elgin Town Hall.
Oh, there you go.
It's a nice sign, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any involvement in the marketing for that, or is that them doing that?
Well, I own a production company, and it's all done through that. So I have Nathan, who's my operations manager, who runs all the marketing stuff, does a fab job.
That sounds like a fun job. So,
right.
You mentioned your production company just there. So the production company, how much are you involved with that? Or do you step back now, or are you fully involved? Is it all you, or is it like a team of people now?
Yes, I mean, I'm fully involved in terms of it always needs steering and everything, but I've got a great team of people who have such initiative that they can crack on with it, and they get involved, and just do a fantastic job, and I can trust them, and now they can make decisions on their own without having to come back to me every 5 minutes, which is brilliant. Because it's a very busy thing, but what we found over the years with G4, I mean, we've been signed to major record labels and had management and agents, stuff like that. But it's always difficult, because no one ever is going to be as passionate about what you do as you are, regardless of how much anyone's paid or whatever. Yeah. And in the industry, you can feel like a bit of a number rather than actually being nurtured and cared for. And so it's really nice to do everything in-house and have the passion and the drive, and have a team behind you that, that love what they do and are driven to do the best that we can and make the most of the situation, and drive it forward, really. Yeah.
So with 20 years past now, what do you wish you could tell yourself 20 years ago?
Um, Wow. I mean, there's so many things in some ways, but then I like the innocence of it. When we were on the X Factor, we'd not been in the music industry before. I mean, we were all training to be solo opera singers, but that was a very different world to the music industry we ended up in. So I felt like I was just a sponge. I wanted to learn so much. It was a real crash course in media training, dealing with the camera, turning up and doing a job, being professional, thinking about how you look, all of that sort of stuff. And that was really invaluable. And so I don't look back really have any regrets, because you make decisions at the time because it seemed to be the right thing. And I'm a totally different person than I was 20 years ago. In some ways I'm not, but you know, I've lived life more and experienced different things. And you know, we couldn't have done any more back in the day. It was full on. You know, we did 24/7 in the early days, and never had a break. You know, certainly for the first 3 years, we never had a holiday or had a break. We missed family weddings and birthdays and different things just because we were just so busy, and there was such a demand, which was great. And then we burnt out. You know, after 3 years, we just said, you know what, we can't do this anymore. Let's go out on a high still. And we've all got our own individual sort of goals and itches to scratch, as it were, and we went our separate ways. But then we came back together for the 10th anniversary, and the response was so insane, we then started doing tours. So we've been back together for 10 years since then, and now celebrating the 20th anniversary. So it was an absolute whirlwind back then, but was such a buzz. And being in my early 20s, it was incredible to be so famous. And you couldn't, you know, I mean, there were 12 million people watching the X Factor, so everyone knew who you were around, and you just couldn't, you know, everywhere you walked, everyone would know who you were, and that was insane. And as an early 20-year-old, you just think that's like amazing, you know, totally crazy. But yeah, suddenly people value your opinion more and then watch you and idolize you. So there's a lot of pressure with that, because people are looking up to you. Anything you do, any decision you make, any product you endorse, anything like that has a huge impact. So you realize how much power you've got, which in the wrong hands obviously can be quite dangerous. But I think it helped being in a group, because you've got each other. So if anyone's getting a bit big for their boots or struggling or anything like that, the others can gather around them and help them. And I think that's really crucial. I mean, to go through something like the X Factor as a solo artist would be huge pressure. And a lot of these people are just off the street. I mean, we were classically trained. We wanted to be singers, and we had made that decision. So in that sense, we had more confidence. But for a lot of people, they just sort of sing at their local pub at karaoke, and everyone said they're amazing, and they have got an insane voice, and they could absolutely become a megastar. But it's a big change for them, and having to deal with it. Not everyone can cope with it, and you don't always get the support. In reality TV shows, you know, the psychological report, mental report, and obviously for a lot of artists, they become very famous and they would go out at whatever week of the live shows, and then they go back to their day job where everyone recognizes them, everyone wants a picture, everyone wants an autograph, but they're still just doing the same job they were doing before and haven't realized the dream. And that must be really difficult. I mean, we were just so fortunate that we got signed, and the career took off after that, because it's a long way to fall if it doesn't all happen for you. And for most people entering the competition, that's unfortunately the reality.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the kind of youth theatre kind of circle for a long while, and I've got lots of friends who are phenomenal singers, people who've auditioned for lots and lots of things, and then never ever been able to get past even like the first stages of these things. So the fact that you have gone through the first stages, not only done that and then got to the finals, and were you in? Did you know at the time what a big phenomenon you were for the first season? Like, did you understand just how big it was? Because I remember watching the TV 20 years ago with my family and thinking, wow, these, like, the harmonies, the timing, the, like, everything just seemed to click. And did you know at the time, did it feel like it at the time, it was going to be such an amazing journey from there on?
Well, I sort of touched on it earlier, in the sense that when we used to busk in London, and even when we did some gigs through the college as a quartet, people just went absolutely nuts in a way that was way above and beyond what anything we expected. And people used to say, "My goodness me, you're going to be famous. You're going to," and we were just like, "What?" We're just sort of carrying on. And then when we turned up for the X Factor audition, we were actually all graduating and going our separate ways. But one of the guys had seen this advert on TV for a new reality TV show where it was also groups, not just solo artists. So we just thought, well, let's go in for a laugh. I mean, we're not going to get very far in it, but let's go for a laugh. We're probably too classical and too whatever. And we were standing in a very long line at the auditions, lots of scantily clad women about to audition. And we were there in our suits because we were at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama and we were taught to sort of dress smartly and, you know, whatever. And the cameras were around us like bees around a honeypot. And they said, "Oh, what are you going to sing?" "Oh, we're going to sing Bohemian Rhapsody." And you could just feel they were thinking, well, this is going to be car crash. We need to film this. This is going to make the first show. But when we sang the first round, you sing a couple of producers' auditions before you actually see the judges. And we sang the first one. They went, "Yeah, you're through." And we were like, "Oh, okay. Not too bad." But even at that stage, you don't know whether you're because of as a joke. I mean, we genuinely thought we were good, I guess. We definitely think we were like a complete joke act, but it's whether you come across as a bit serious, which we didn't want to do, and whether people be judgmental, being classical or whatever. And it was obvious from that very early stage that there was clearly interest in us, following us. And then, of course, we then sang for the judges. And actually, because we were all graduating and going our separate ways, we were going to put on a final concert at Music College to sort of celebrate what we'd done together as a group, because we'd been together about a year and a half, I guess, before that. And so we thought, well, great, if we sing in front of Simon Cowell, he says, "Look, you're good, but you're a bit boring," or whatever. Great, we can put on a poster, "You're a bit good, Simon Cowell." I think it was a bit of early business acumen showing itself. And anyway, we got to the outside of the audition for the judges, and we were like, "Right, everyone, you need to remember, really concentrate, focus on, we need to take a quote, so listen." Anyway, we went in, and by the time we came out, it was a complete blur. Literally couldn't probably even remember our names, because they showered us with praises. It's a breath of fresh air. It's, you know, you've got the X Factor. It's something totally different. Your stars, all this. And we're just like, sorry, what? I mean, we're literally like mates from college, and we're just coming for a laugh and hoping for a quote for the poster. So, and then we just kept getting through. We just thought, what is going on? This is absolutely crazy. And really got tested. And actually, that was when we went to the boot camp stage. Louis Walsh is amazing at choosing songs, and he gave us Creep, Radiohead's Creep. And obviously that was severely to test us, and we came up with a version. And I remember the judges, there were a few on the team, and the stylist there, she had a clipboard, and she put it over her head, over her face, because she got so emotional. She didn't want to see that she got so emotional with it. And it really struck a chord, and the whole room, all the crew just started crying. And we're like, wow, that something's happened in this room. That is incredible. And then they revealed as to whether we got through or not. And even despite that, we kind of thought, well, surely we're through because we've moved it. But you still feel like you're on a knife edge and you don't believe it. And in the live shows, every time you got through, it was just the most incredible feeling, because you just thought we could be going home. And then halfway through the live shows, I think we were in about 8 in total. Show 4, we were in the bottom 2, and we thought, oh, our luck's run out. That's just too bad. So then on the Extra Factor show, behind the scenes, we really started taking the mick out of each other and just showing that we were fun, normal guys, that we weren't classical and boring and whatever, going against the stereotype that people just for whatever reason thought. And that got us the votes, and we just kept getting through. And it was just incredible, and it was just such a whirlwind. And we went in this for a laugh. We didn't expect to win, but I think that's probably why we did so well, because when you get people, maybe their mums always told them that they're a really good singer, and they go in and actually they perhaps don't have a particularly good voice, and they have a long way to fall when they're told, "I'm really sorry, but you can't actually sing," as Simon would sort of say to people. And yeah, I mean, we fortunately had a good experience, but it was horrendous, awful, and also brilliant and amazing at the same time. You literally go through every single emotional. And my dad was diagnosed with cancer just before the X Factor, so he was going through chemo on the live shows, and I purposely didn't mention it publicly because I knew that would become a big sob story, and I just thought, actually, it feels a bit wrong, and it was such a personal thing for my dad. And actually, he every week my family would come and friends to the live shows, but he could never come because he had chemo. And we were in the quarterfinals. Said, look, if you get to the semi-finals, I can come. And that was, so obviously it was a big deal just to get through anyway, but then knowing, oh, my dad's going to be there next week. And then he said, I'm so sorry, but actually I can't. But listen, if you get through to the final, I promise you I will definitely be there. So again, you're in the semi-final singing in front of 12 million people watching at home, thinking we've got to get through. I'm thinking I need to, so my dad can come along. And anyway, we did. And then my dad came along. So you imagine you're already emotional enough. And then my dad was standing in the audience. And that was just absolutely mind-blowing. It was incredible. It was an amazing thing for all of our family and friends going through that roller coaster. And it still feels fresh, even though it's 20 years ago.
It does sound like some journey. Even just watching you and the passion and the things that you were saying there, and I could see you going through some of the emotions as you were telling the stories. And it's so nice to see, because not you took us on a roller coaster there, because you took us through like the emotions of your dad, and then your emotions of like how you felt, how happy you were, and how that felt going through that. But that was part of the humanity of that new style of TV show, wasn't it? Like this thing where you felt like you get to know everybody, and again, you were saying the extra factor, so we were getting to see behind the scenes. You having a giggle and showing a bit more of personality rather than just being four guys in suits. And then just the whole journey we felt like we were on that journey with you, because we'd never done that before. I mean, there'd been like Pop Stars and Pop Stars The Rivals and all that kind of stuff, but the X Factor was such a massive thing when it launched and looking back now, you can be like, oh, that's a bit cliche, but 20 years ago, it wasn't. It was very brand new, and we were all going on that journey with you. And I think that's something that stuck with me, because even now thinking back, I'm like, yeah, I went on that journey with you. I saw some of those emotions, and then watching you tell us again in that conversation we've just had, where I saw your face kind of just reliving some of that. It's really special. It is really special. I think the public are involved in that too.
Definitely. And it's wonderful that people are on the journey with us. And what a lot of people say is, I've never been into reality TV shows, but you guys came on the screen and I was just sort of transfixed, and it was a different thing. And it was the first time anyone had obviously done a cappella singing, or singing opera on a reality TV show. So it was sort of pioneering, and people just say, oh, you're pioneering, you've created this classical crossover genre. And we're like, okay, we're just doing what we did. And I mean, when we were a barbershop quartet, I compose, and I'm an arranger and stuff. And I just thought, let's spice this up a bit. And I don't know why, but I suddenly thought, Bohemian Rhapsody, let's create, because it's 7 minutes or something, the original version. Let's just do that completely a cappella, and we'll do all the guitars and all of that stuff. And that was our party piece. So then to take it to the X Factor, obviously it was only the very beginning that was shown of it, but we were sort of pushing the boundaries naturally. We weren't sort of thinking, how can we stand out in that sense? But I guess it was just, how can we spice it up a bit rather than just singing all the barbershop stuff, which is great fun, but just to mix it up and have that variety. But yeah, at some point it'd be nice to recreate that original sound with all 7 minutes. It was great fun. And we get on the floor and do the sort of the air guitars, but while sort of singing it all, like the Brian May iconic solo. That would be John singing that in diddly and all that sort of stuff. It was really fun. And just, I think as well, we sort of push ourselves as singers because we want different experiences and try different things and see what our voices are capable of. Because you've got John, who's crazy high, and then you've got Duncan, who's crazy low. And the other two of us sort of in between. So it's really exploiting that, where we can come together as close harmony, literally, because our notes are so close. And then we've got other songs, even on the album, the new album, we've got a couple of songs where John and Duncan are 3 octaves apart on their notes. And then we suddenly come really close together. And you obviously get such a different colour and a different effect vocally, with that, and it's really exploiting that, because again, there's not another group out there that has the high and low to such an extreme. If you've got a group, they tend to all be tenors rather than having basses or whatever in there. So but it's really celebrating what we can do as a group, and showing off those skills, and making the most of it.
I think the only group I can think of that even emulates or does something similar to what you guys do is the Pentatonics. So
Yeah.
I've watched them a few times. My kids are totally into them. They think they're amazing, and they are amazing. We watched them on The Masked Singer. We've been watching all the Masked Singers. So get yourself on The Masked Singer. Don't tell anyone, but obviously do that. And then, but
Just blown it for him.
Great.
well,
No, they
who
are
am I? I'm
phenomenal.
just. And we were like, how did they not win that season? You know, like they were literally the best thing on the season. But do you think they were influenced by what you did back then, or do you think they have an idea of what you had accomplished?
I don't know specifically, obviously, because I don't know them, but it's been amazing how many people have sort of said what an influence we've been to them.
Yeah.
And I did an opera contract for 5 years at Opera Holland Park in London, and it was amazing how many singers, as soon as I walked in the room, I think there were about 40 of us opera singers in that particular production, and they all knew who I was and my background. And it's just like, well, I don't want that to be a thing, because I've come in neutrally, as you all have, and I don't want to stand out. It's part of my life and I'm very proud of it, but it's not defining me, particularly in this context. It's a very different thing. And it was amazing how many of them just said, you really inspired us as singers, growing up. And you think, God, I feel really old now. But and in the impact it had on people, and people say you were so brave to go on a show like that, and oh goodness, I wouldn't have the guts to do something like that. And I don't know, it sort of surprises you, because you just think, well, we just sort of did what we did. We didn't go out to sort of be trailblazers or anything like that. And it's just wonderful to people that have been inspired over the year, particularly when it's people that are such good singers themselves, and you just think, wow, okay, that really is a huge compliment. And actually, Rosalind Plowright, who is a very famous opera singer, and only people I guess in the opera world would know of her, but she used to play the soprano heroine alongside Pavarotti all around the world in all the major opera houses. And she did an opera at Opera Holland Park with me a few years ago, and we were just talking backstage, and she just said, I have to tell you, I'm a huge fan of G4. And I was literally like, sorry, what? You even know who we are? She said, oh, it's just wonderful, those harmonies. I'm thinking, hang on a minute, you're Rosalind Plowright. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy that you even know who we are. And I think that's always been a thing over the years, where people know who we are. You forget that you're sort of famous or a celebrity. You just do what you do. And you'd be at a celebrity party and David Beckham comes over and goes, oh, hi, G4. And you're like, hi. Yeah. Okay, fine. Or Graham Norton. I remember we went to the BBC studios and Dawn French was there. She came running over to us and said, oh, G4, I must get a photo with you. And you're just thinking, but you're Dawn French. Can we have a photo with you? And it just became such a normal thing that people just knew who you were. And it's like, that is ridiculous. And then we were at
sweep all those names up from the floor now.
Oh no, name dropping. Yeah.
No, but it's crazy. It's just absolutely bonkers. Yeah, we went to Downing Street some years ago when Tony Blair was the Prime Minister, and Sherry Blair came up to us, and it was actually when we'd just come off the X Factor, and said, I must get your autograph and a picture, because my daughter Catherine's going to be so jealous. And and we can put it on the mantelpiece at Downing Street. You're just thinking, this is the Prime Minister. And knows, like, what? How is that possible? And I remember when we won the bid for London Olympics, and we were asked to perform at the sort of the ceremony to celebrate it. And we were standing in the corridor waiting to go on, and there were two women screaming down the corridor, G4, G4. I mean, like, who's that? And it was the hosts of the evening. It was Claire Balding and Sue Barker. And they said, oh my God, we love your music. And can we have a photo with you? And it's just moments like that. You just think, really? Like, how do you know who we are?
Yeah.
it's absolutely bonkers. But I think it's helped me not be starstruck then when I meet people that I love and love listening to or watching on TV or whatever. And you do realize that ultimately everyone is a human and everyone has their stuff to deal with in life and their, difficult times and happy times. And I think with the celebrityism, if that's a word, it's just people forget that everyone is just human at the end of the day. And that's, which has its pros and cons, I guess. But it's a very strange world, the whole celebrity music industry world.
Well, that is exactly what Nicky was talking about earlier, the elephant in the room that she was talking about. She kind of blew it as a conversational piece because it seemed more natural to bring it up now. But I have to ask you, if you could put into words and just how much you were inspired, like create a picture with words and just say how much you and the band were inspired by me, Ryan RocKs.
Well, I don't know if we've got enough time, have we, to sort of go through all that. That's going to take a long time.
You're too kind.
Yes. Well, we did. I remember years ago on the X Factor tour, there was a big banner that someone had written called that said G4 Rocks, and obviously they got the inspiration from you with that.
Yes, thank you for at least acknowledging that, because I think people forget, and it's good that you can put a bit of light on that for me. So I guess we should wrap up because we're taking loads of your time, and unless you want to keep on speaking, but I mean, I'm happy. I've got nowhere else to be. Have you got anywhere?
I do love a chat. It's also fun reminiscing, actually, because that's what I've loved about the 20th anniversaries. We've done lots of reminiscing about the X Factor, all the early days, and it is fascinating. And even now I think, God, did that really happen? Oh yes, and we did that, and it was such a crazy time. And I think it helps to sort of compute it and to verbalize it out loud is really important and special to remember it, because it obviously totally and utterly changed our lives. And it's moments like this, you're having an interview or in TV or whatever, and you just think, well, actually perhaps I wouldn't be doing this if and what else would I be, so it is fascinating to see how life can grab you and you end up in a particular direction.
I have a question about that though. Sorry, Ryan, I just completely interrupted you again. But like lockdown, have you processed that yet? Because I really don't feel like most of society have processed what happened in lockdown. And you obviously lost all of your work, and then you did these online shows and started this like super tight knit community, like getting us all out of bed in the morning. I mean, not literally, you didn't like travel the country like getting us out of bed, but you literally were there, like giving us something to kind of look forward to. And we ended up doing a pantomime. I mean, have you processed all that yet? Worked with like all these famous people, and then you're doing this pantomime with this.
But it's fun. I think life, I lost my dad sadly after the X Factor from cancer I mentioned earlier, and life is absolutely for the taking. He was 59 when he died, and you just think, he waited all his life, worked so hard for retirement with my mum, and it just never happened. I think you've just got to have fun in life. There's so much negativity, particularly online and social media, and I just cannot stand negativity because it zaps all sort of creativity and fun, and I can't bear it, basically. So I think certainly, obviously, COVID, I literally lost all my work for a year and a half, and that's not a woe is me story. It's a fact, because there's no point in me, at the time doing a woe is me. This is the situation, and I'm not alone. There's plenty of other people in the same boat, and it's like, how can I turn it into a positive? Oh, I can do online shows. That's great. And for none of us, none of us had been through that before. No one really knew how to respond to COVID and lockdowns and all of that. So it was also, I think, with my online shows, I spoke very openly about my sort of mental health, which somehow, as a guy talking about it, can often be more powerful than a woman talking about it. And I just said, look, it's totally fine to not be okay, and embrace it and acknowledge it. Don't feel that you should be feeling any particular way, because there is no right or wrong way to feel. And you know what? If you don't feel like you can get out of bed today, maybe a goal today is to get up and make a cup of tea, and that's totally fine. That can be your goal for the day. It was just very, very strange. And so I just spoke very openly about it, and I said, I'm struggling with it too, and this is why. And but let's celebrate. And there were so many positive things, I think, to come out of COVID. So whether you're a company that did incredibly well as a result of COVID, whether you're a company that did extremely badly, everyone's learnt from it a huge amount. I mean, sadly, I think the complacency, which we kind of thought, well, never going to be this complacent again. You know, like, for example, when it was opening up and you couldn't just go for a meal, you had to book months in advance and all of that stuff. That complacency, sadly, has now reared its ugly head and people are just back to normal as if it never happened. But you do look back and just think, and you know, when you think it's 4 years ago when we were in the first lockdown, which isn't that long ago really, and you're just thinking the face masks and what always made me laugh is it was when you were in a restaurant, you had to wear a face mask, but you could take it off. What was it? You could take it off when you're sitting down at a table, but then when you walk into the toilet, you had to put the face mask back on. It's like COVID is so clever. It just knows, doesn't it? When you're sitting up or you're standing up, and it's like, you know, it's just, there were some crazy things. It's like, don't have face masks, do have face masks. But at the same time, it's like no one really knew. And we were all sort of clutching at straws going, what should we be doing? And, you know, obviously for the live online shows I did, for me, certainly, it kept my sanity. I am a performer. I can't just not sing for a year and a half. I can't not perform. And I can't not earn anything because I've got a lifestyle I've set up over the years to then literally be earning zero. So that was ticketed. So it helped me, but also people watching. It was therapy for people because the one thing is the government did not acknowledge the arts as being anything important. I've never done, really. You know, Oliver Dowden, the then culture secretary, said, you know, anyone in the music industry needs to go and find a proper job. And so there's always been this sort of thing about being a musician or an artist is not a proper job. So that obviously kicked up a bit of a stink. You know, the arts is the one thing that everyone could have done with at the time to sort of help them get through it. And there was just a complete lack of it. It just was nowhere to be seen. So to be able to perform and to help people, and it became a highlight for people. It was Wednesday evenings, I always did, and I still do them every so often. I haven't given up completely. And that was a highlight and something for people to look forward to. And I think that was the thing with COVID. We didn't know how long it was going to last for. So it was having something in the diary. At least you knew on a Wednesday evening, great, that's something I can look forward to. And having those little goals in life was really important. But my goodness me, what an absolutely bonkers time. I nearly lost my company as a result, because as a company, just to not, you know, you're earning from lots of shows and then suddenly you've got nothing for a year and a half. The government didn't help in any way with any of that. And again, it's not a woe is me story. I'm not like that. It's just factual. And you just have to somehow find a way. And thankfully, I managed to save my company, keep my staff on. But it's scary. And everything you've ever worked for in life is suddenly gone overnight. And you just think, well, what can you do? But thankfully, it came back eventually. But even when it did, of course, there was a year or so or two where people were lost confidence to come out to shows. But it feels like now we're back to normal, as it were, whatever that is. And people are coming back to shows and have forgotten all about it, really, until someone says the COVID word and they suddenly think, oh, yes, I remember that. Yeah. It's
like
mad,
it didn't
isn't
happen.
It?
Mm-hmm.
But
did you finish your muff? That's been driving me nuts, whether you finished that or not. You took up knitting at one point.
Yeah, so one of my friends in Cowes, where I live on the Isle of Wight, decided to do a muff Zoom, I guess is the word. And we would do it, I think it was twice a week we did it, and it was just a group of us that learnt to knit. So I'd never knitted in my life, and we knitted these twiddle muffs, as they're called. And the idea being that they would go to the dementia patients at the local hospital when we finished them, and they're sort of a tubular muff with buttons on the outside and the inside and bits of ribbon, so that people with dementia can sit there with their hands and they can fiddle, basically. And it was an amazing experience because I'd never knitted before, and it was so difficult to, my goodness me, it was so difficult to keep the line straight all the time. We learnt different stitches and whatever, but we were in stitches doing it. And then someone would hold it up to the camera and go, look, this is what I've done today, and I don't know what's going on, but I've suddenly got a really long, you know, we just had such a laugh doing it, and then completed it, and then, you know, went on its merry way. And there was things like that where actually, again, it's turning something into a positive and doing something, because we used to do quizzes on Zooms and all sorts of things. Zoom became a new thing.
I miss the quizzes. I said that to the family the other day. That I was like, why do we not do quizzes anymore? That was one part of lockdown that I was like, we all got together. There was all of us on a big screen, and we were chatting and spending time together, even though we were miles apart. And it was great. And we don't do it anymore. And we just meet up at special occasions again. And I'm like, what? We're crazy. We need to
We were
spend
more
more time.
sociable than we'd ever been before,
Right?
actually, even though we weren't physically together. But families and friends were on Zoom all the time. So you felt like you were really connected. I mean, the ironic thing was you didn't have a lot to talk about because you were literally stuck at home all day. But it was great fun playing games. And I love games nights and things like that and quizzes. So I was all over that. It was really fun. And we just, a whole group of us to do it, and we just take it in terms to host. And that was great. And that was all something to look forward to. That was a really special treat. And then sort of lockdown ended and we were sort of back to life again. It was like, actually, it's a shame we can't just carry on. I think we sort of did for a while.
Yeah.
And then life took over, and then it was the summer. And then obviously you just want to be outside and, you know, not stuck indoors, particularly over the winter. It's great to be on Zoom and doing all of those sorts of things. But yeah, it was
what everybody spoke about, gardening and making cakes, food and gardening.
Yeah, absolutely. 15 minutes of exercise a day.
Can we circle back round
a crazy time
to you doing a load of covers, like rock covers? Because it's like selfishly for me, obviously. However, I need you to do Kansas, Carry On Wayward Son, because it would drive the chairman of Stirling Community Radio absolutely crazy, because he hates that song and it's one of my favorites. So, but I can just imagine your harmonies on that, because it is such a song that contains so many harmonies. So if you could do that for me, that'd be fantastic. But I do have a massive list of rock songs that I think could be converted. So I will definitely email them over to you, and then I want, obviously,
I would love to see those.
A percentage of everything that you earn after that. So
okay, right.
Just getting my business model sorted out, you know. So I have to thank you for obviously being so generous with your time and being here with us both. I know Nicky is used to this and having your undivided attention, but I'm not. So I want to thank you so much for spending so much time with us. And
no, he used to eat Kit Kats and everything. I wasn't his undivided attention. He was sitting there munching biscuits.
Well, I mean,
I don't eat biscuits.
There you go. See, you're just a liar, Nicky.
Lockdown biscuits.
I used to take a break, but I didn't eat a Kit Kat. That's different.
So no, honestly, thank you, though. And I can't wait to see what the feedback is on the tour. And obviously, the album came out on the 12th of April, so we want to get everybody to buy that and just buy G420 and go out and see you for your Christmas tour and for the obviously this tour that you're doing now. And is there anything else you want to promote while we're here? We've got 3 minutes.
Oh, great. Well, no, thank you. It's been fun. I always love a little chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much going on. So I set up an outdoor proms festival on the Isle of Wight where I live. I know it's obviously not very local to your listeners, but I do a lot of stuff on the Isle of Wight. That's in August. And I'm busy because we've literally got 10 days off tour at the moment. So I'm back home and people are like, oh, have a lovely... No, and I just can't sit down and do nothing. So I'm busily working on that to go on sale at the end of this week. And I'm very heavily involved in 2 charities as well on the Isle of Wight, the hospice, where I go and sing. And I absolutely love doing that. It's probably my favourite thing because it's just so rewarding, for want of a better word, and to go into individual rooms of residents there and to sing with the dementia people that come in, patients. It's just means everything to me. I absolutely love it. And to meet the families of some of the residents and see what they're going through, because I've obviously been through that with my dad. So I totally get it. And a wonderful charity called Independent Arts, who are an official charity of the White Proms Festival that I put on. So it's always a busy time, but particularly this year, it's all about G4 because we've got so many tour dates and the album and everything. But I try and squeeze in different things whenever I can in the little gaps because I just love what I do, and that inspires me to work and do what I can, because as people say, I can sleep when I'm dead or something. You know, it's like I might as well make the most of it, Because the thing that worries me, you see, is if I live to 100, which is unlikely, but if I did, I just think I don't actually have enough time to do what I want to achieve in life. I'm writing an opera at the moment. I'm also trying to write a TV drama. I'd love to spend more time on that, but my focus this year has to be G4 because there's so much going on, and I just fit these other things in when I can. But life's for the taking.
Fourth solo album?
Solo album, I would love to do that. Yes, I'm always working on that. I'm still writing songs and doing various things, so that's always there in the background. But it's just finding the time to do all these wonderful things.
It does sound like you don't have enough hours in the day. So we will wrap up though and say, get to g4official.com. Make sure that you see if there's a date for you. There's like 108 of them across the year, so I'm sure you can find them. And just hopefully you've got the biggest success that you've ever had this year, and it makes up for the 4 years that we're all kind of stuck doing that. Well,
no,
2
thank
years
you.
anyway.
It's been fun. Thanks for chatting to me.
No, thank you for being here. We really appreciate it.